Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Together, post-show Q&A version with the cast of this show.
Insert show name here.
I'm sorry, it's a long title. The Last Resort at Murkendraw Bog. Yeah. It's at Murkendraw Bog. Some people think it's of. It's not.
I think I'd probably called it of as well.
Well, you're incorrect.
Either or. Incorrect.
No, you're incorrect.
Correct, I am incorrect. Anyway, thank you all for joining us for an evening of talking about D&D, specifically post-show recapping the lovely events of The Last Resort of Murkendraw Bog, all of the lovely, juicy story nuggets that we've all managed to bring together into this lovely story, and also maybe some player chats about how it was, all that lovely behind-the-camera stuff. But before we get started, look at this. Look at all the people arrayed around me. They're awesome. Then look a little bit further out and see all of the sponsor logos arrayed around us. That's right. We are sponsored by awesome people, including Hero Forge, Ultra Pro, Phoenix Dice, Alchemy RPG, Idle Champions, D&D Beyond, Warriors of Waterdeep, Neverwinter, and Elderwood Academy. My goodness me, all those wonderful people. Thank you all so much for helping us do what we do. And a massive thank you to the D20 Club, who also help us do what we do, who are our fans and support us on Patreon, and also do things like make fan wikis. There'll be a link in chat. And fan discords. There'll be a link in chat. Join us on all of those. Find out more about your favorite characters and join us on the socials. Roll Together RPG, basically everywhere. Same on podcasts. Just search Roll Together RPG on your favorite podcasting app. And yes, good. Right. Let's talk about the campaign, my friends. I'm not going to start with the dice roll. I'm going to start with just an open-ended question, because that's how I like to start these things.
You just hate the dice.
What?
You just hate the dice.
I don't hate dice. I love dice. Dice are good. I prefer digital dice these days because, oh my God, it made my life so much easier. But, yeah. So, Liz, I'm going to start with you. Hello.
Hello.
This campaign felt a lot like tying together a lot of loose ends and finding a lot of story beats to wrap together and give characters a kind of moment to, if you will, move on. Was moving on a theme you purposefully chose for this? Was that part of the design and setup here?
No. I knew the people who were going to be playing, and I knew some of the characters and some of their backstories. And I had a vague concept for what I wanted Murkendraw to be. And it was a case of, okay, how do I knit all this together? How do I knit people to other people? And what does it mean to them to be in the Feywild? Sometimes to do with where they need to be, in Veracity's case, for example. What temptations will there be for others now that they're here? It was just a fun thing to play off, and I really kind of just went episode by episode, and we went from there. There wasn't really a plan throughout the entire thing. It just seemed to knit together really, really well.
Yeah, improv DMing. We've got a couple of improv DMs on the channel who love to make a world and then see what happens. With that in mind, players, did it feel like that? Did you feel like you were making opportunities as they came along, or did you feel like there was a wider narrative you were tapping into?
I felt like there were definitely things that we wanted to work towards, but it didn't feel like they were inevitable. I think it felt like, it didn't feel like we were on rails at all, I would say.
Converse to that, though, I would probably add, I didn't feel like it was being made up as we were going. I felt like there was a definite kind of plan, and not that I felt like we were being ferried, but that it was kind of like all right, you're going this way, but this path does kind of. Oh no, we're going. No.
Well, as we've talked about this before, there's a sign of saying good DMing, and good is a terrible word, but DMing where everyone feels part of it, where it's less of a you're in my story now and more of a we're all telling this story together, which is very pleasant. So
I think Liz creates such an impossibly detailed and an exciting world that you know that you can go and poke any of it and there will be something interesting to happen. There's no fear that everything is in grey and then one building is in pink. It feels really safe to go poking things because any door you open, Liz will have something amazing behind it.
That's what I enjoy about it, because whatever you poke will then influence what happens after that. And that could be completely different than if you poke the other thing over there. So it's fun for me because I never know what's going to happen until you start poking. So that's always good.
In terms of the... Obviously,
I'm sorry.
What happened? What? Did I cut across you?
No, there was discussion of poking.
Oh, right. I see. There was discussions of poking. The putting a holiday resort in the Feywild is already a quirky idea and then putting it specifically in Murkendraw Bog, which is most famous for hags, when you sent through this is what I want to do, it was very much an and then watching it going, geez, it's proper like Disney. It's a parody of holiday parks. It's a parody of amusement parks even. There were lots of elements like that too. Was that all intentional?
I wanted it to feel as real as possible, but also as surreal as possible as well. So I wanted the those points that everyone can relate to, as in you've seen the Disney advert, you've seen people walking through the gates and looking around, and that's something that's recognizable to everybody. But at the same time, you've got a massive hotel that's on crow's feet and it has the original Baba Yaga hut on top of it. It's that flipping reality and surrealness all at the same time, which is something that I'd like to do, and sorry for those people whose minds I've broken.
Did you, the robotic, the fact that all of the people who work in the park are robots, which was an amazing reveal, and also was like, it's all manufactured. There's a manufactured reality here that isn't, none of these people are real. The situation is not real. It's all a facade dropped on top. And then there were also the fact there are facades dropped on top of the fact that two hags run it and don't appear to be that negative for quite a long time, or didn't seem to have anything that was evil or awkward. There seemed to be a theme as well with the characters of facades of what you show the world and who you actually are on the inside, especially with deals being made by mistake in some cases, or to counter death in others. As players, did you have a sense of that idea of facade as well? Is that a theme we can draw out?
It depends how your brain works, Chris, because your brain works like this. Like, I'm just playing my character in the world. I'm not going like, haha, Demi is behind a facade and this is the theme. Like, no, you're just playing the character in the world.
When you were making Demi, were there thoughts of presentation there? Or what were your thoughts behind making Demi?
I like the idea.
Valid. To be fair, very
totally.
valid.
And
then, clearly it's also it's a trope, because Liz did exactly the same thing with Eldergreen, and we made those characters at pretty much the same time. And Liz started dropping Eldergreen's backstory. I was like, oh boy, that's very similar to Demi's backstory.
we hadn't seen each other's backstories by that point either. Yeah.
No. Well, two of you had returning characters that you had planned and designed, and therefore putting them in new scenarios. And the other two of you, apart from Demi, who we've already spoken to, obviously Sally as well. Sorry, there were three of you returning characters and one of you with a completely new character. Did you want to adapt those characters to this new story and this new set? Oh dear. Our dog demands attention.
Sorry, this is quite normal for him, but always a pain.
The three of you had returning characters. Were you looking at how to adapt your characters into this new setup to try and make them be, quote unquote, on holiday?
Yeah, I mean, literally, Joe started out as a little bit of a gimmicky, kind of jokey character. And then actually...
Really? Sean, you?
Joe Quixotic, really?
But then, people started asking questions about him. I was like, okay, of course he's got depth. Let's see how far we can go. And we just kind of we're building this backstory for, a ridiculous character who basically was just meant to be a tourist.
How about the three of you with returning characters? Did you have that sense of holiday as well?
I think Teseli is basically from the Feywild, so it was more like coming back home rather than being on holidays. Just happened that there is bad mods around, but yeah, it was pretty much. I don't think I changed anything except for just changed the role of rulership for the staff of Swarm Insect Keeper or something like that. So that was the only change, just to spice it up. But everything else was basically the same.
I feel like Teseli was predisposed to that cruise ship environment. So like when there was the disco and when there was the bingo, like Teseli just fit that beautifully. It was amazing. And I think Teseli likes to pick up things like little mementos. So you collect things. I don't know if that's Ali or Teseli, but you ended up with the Hydra egg. You ended up taking things from places. You took the glass.
The glass.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think I have I got something at the bingo Was it a gift card or something for Valka?
You gave a gift card to the little old lady halfling who was very lucky, who kept winning.
Maybe.
Mirror what?
Marjorie.
Wait,
Marjorie.
That feels right, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a flandish at one point?
There's a flandish that could be won at the raffle at the bingo. Yeah.
Speaking of well-developed worlds, Liz.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Nat, same question. Did it feel like your characters were putting on a new facade or on holiday away, or was it more of the continuation of a story?
I think, well, both in Valka's case. I think had Veracity not literally dropped into the swimming pool, Valka probably would have had more of a facade of, it's fine, I've not just witnessed something traumatic and lost one of my good friends, and I'm just here to do a job and then I'll crack on, but we're going to enjoy the facilities that we've been told to enjoy while it lasts. And obviously already knew that Veracity was going to be part of it. Part of the whole setup for this was Rebecca and I going, this is doing a campaign in the Feywild. What if? So I knew that it wasn't going to stay, but I think for Valka, it wasn't a sense of like, I'm going to keep a facade. It's just no one here knows me and I can just be. And then it all changed.
Of course.
Veracity was never really on holiday. She was the one who didn't choose to be on the barge, just fell out the sky. And then the rest, I think she had a really fun combination of feeling safer than she's felt in ages because Valka was there and nothing can go wrong if Valka is there. But then combined with the Feywild is where Drusilla lives. It is terrifying. Her life she was about to go fight an army. Everything is quite bad. And then the betrayal of when Valka did the bad thing. So
betrayal.
She felt betrayed. She then learned it was unintentional, but to start with. So that really, never on holiday, but the really strange combination of feeling at home and really on edge.
Well, there was a nice setup with you can never find home, but home became where your friends are. So that changed anyway, automatically. So many little things I want to pick out in what everyone just said that are just fun little asides. I think I will do a couple and then we'll roll a dice. Sean, you'll probably love this, and I don't know if you noticed. Your Cat of Ill Omen, the editors had a long conversation about, do we just use the Hound of Ill Omen animation and change it to a cat? What noise is it? Is it a meow? Is it a meow? What is it? And there's a lot of time spent on the Cat of Ill Omen, which is lovely stuff, as always. And Rebecca, Nat, as an observer, as an audience member, I watched it going, because Viorica's not dead. And Veracity sort of knows that, but the timelines could be all confused. So actually, it's just a lot of heartache, but Ed's just there going, I think everything's all right. I cannot wait to see that reunion. I can't wait.
I played Ava in a campaign with Viorica when he safely got home from the Astral Sea. So I found that so bizarre. To have Rebecca be like, Viorica's fine, and Veracity to be there like, he's dead.
The wheels we weave by having multiple campaigns at the same time. But I do love that. And I can't wait to see the reunion, which will definitely come at some point. Just who knows when or how. Right. Let's roll a dice. Let's get the ball rolling, the dice rolling.
But it's only been 15 minutes, Chris. What are you doing?
I'm trying to be professional. Right. I have rolled an 18. Which PC gets the cleverest use of a spell or ability award?
It's probably Demi, right? There's a lot of anime objects.
Turns out anime objects is DM kryptonite. Who knew?
I don't know. My vote goes for Veracity and the fog thing.
Turning us all into fog.
Yeah, turning us all into fog.
Yeah.
But that is just what that spell is meant for. Whereas Demi's, literally, it's to avoid obstacles and go fast. Whereas Demi was such round the corner thinking. It was amazing. But thank you.
Is Windwalk often used to avoid lasers? I don't think so. Putting out a limb there. It's designed for traveling humongous distances very quickly, but yeah, it's true. Anything about your anime objects?
I love anime objects. It's great. You can shuttle people around on spikes. You can unscrew screws. You can make loads of hats come to life and attack robots. Like, it's just great. It
is now 2 campaigns where Animate Objects has taken a DM by an okay. So there'll be a warning to all DMs out there. Animate Objects, be careful of it.
Animate Objects and Wall of Force.
Yeah.
As well.
Force.
That was also awesome, the Wall of Force.
There are 3 instances of spells that took me by surprise that we've not talked about already.
Oh.
One was when Taselli used Mantle of Majesty,
Command
on the sprites in the college, because these sprites were influencing how destructive the librarian was being. And I was like, oh shit, this could actually solve the problem. Happenstance meant that only a couple of them moved away, but if used over and over and over again, that could actually solve the problem. So that surprised me. I was like, oh wow, that's a way that we could solve this. Other spells of note: Shield, Silvery Barbs. I'm not even going to explain why.
All right. Silvery Barbs. This is always an interesting conversation. I don't think it's broken. I think it's a really good spell. I think it's a really cool way that you change the rules of the game, which good reaction spells do. They change the rules of the game, like Counterspell, like Shield. Then a combat where 3 characters all cast it one after the other to make a thing not happen, and then all the advantage that came out of that.
Yes.
There's a reason for that. It's because spellcasters don't have a lot to do with their reactions. Because unless you've got Warcaster and something's within opportunity attack range of you, which nothing ever is, because if you're doing your job, you shouldn't be there.
It's true.
You don't have reactions unless you've got items that give you reactions. But realistically, you have very little to do in between turns as spellcaster. So if you can use your reaction to either protect yourself, shield, or give disadvantage on a roll, Silvery Barbs, that's like a great use of your reaction.
It was because there was the first, I think episode 3, the first time that all 3 of you used it, bang, 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 one after the other. And then the one after, I think, Sean, you tried to use it twice, and both times it just rolled a nat 20, so it was still happening.
Yeah.
That was for me a really good indication of Silvery Barbs by 3 characters potentially fucking a roll for a DM. I can see a certain amount of like, oh, maybe this is a bit overpowered. And then watching it go wrong, interestingly, twice was also really fascinating then to go, this isn't the kryptonite it feels like.
I think it's all about balance at the end of the day, isn't it? And I love that it's accessible as a cantrip. It's a first level spell.
First level spell. So it's expensive.
Yeah, but it's quite powerful for a level 1.
I think also it matters that if you have a lot of long rest, so if you run out of your first level spells, now you have to use second level spells and so on.
Yeah.
But if you are in constant stress, you might think about it to use it more than the first level.
This is very true.
Just to build on what Emma was saying as well, we don't have a lot to use our reactions for, unless you have a bard who is casting the
inspiration.
Yeah. So suddenly I was having to make a choice between: do I want to be further away, or do I want to potentially stop someone dying by a crit? And my sorcerer was definitely on the side of move away, you dickhead, what are you doing? But I was like, but it's dangerous.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I do think it's very powerful. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's also interesting how you'll see certain classes and certain spells just turn up more and more and more as their obvious power and usage, like Shield being in a classic one. There's just, there are some, Shield as a wizard, you think, oh, well, that's really good. And then suddenly you go, oh, it's Shield being cast by someone with a lot of armor. Suddenly you've taken this from a useful thing you can do into a, my AC is now 28. What are you going to do about it? So.
Sorry, are you referring to someone in particular?
No.
Maybe David Shears.
No. That was a home game. I was looking up spells that required no saving throws. It was fine. But yeah, like I do think it's fun how the game sort of, you find these weird things where like this weird combination now means that is super good, or that is super good, and starting to find those. Sean did a whole breakdown of character classes and species we've all played by using the wiki, and interesting stuff came out of that. Maybe we should find a way to publish it, Sean. I think it was interesting.
And like Ali was saying about long rests, it was another thing that was I really enjoyed about this, that because we did it all with one long rest, I think all 6 episodes, then we had, like, I'm so used to playing a caster where you just fire off as many spells as you like, because we're going to take a rest as soon as, the warlock and the paladin and the monk need to. And instead we just kept going, which was amazing. I have never come close to running out of spells for Veracity before, and having to think about it and that spell economy was really interesting.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because as a
level
DM,
10, 11, you need challenge, because it's difficult to give you challenge as a DM with creatures, because usually you're going to beat them. So the challenge of I need to conserve my spells, that gives you a bit more risk as well as a player. So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because from a DM perspective, I really dislike taking away long rests and short rests. I think I wanted the players to do all their cool stuff and want to do them as often as they possibly can. But yeah, is there a bit of threat that disappears because they're resting too often? Also, being a player where you can't rest and you want to do the cool thing, but you can't, I hate being in that position too. So
I like how I always feel it makes it a little bit fairer when you have people like paladins or warlocks where they are impossibly cool for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And then if you have people, like fighters or monks who really come into their own in longer times, I really like denying rest because it balances the party a little more, rather than the paladin's going to smite every single time and there's nothing anyone can do about that. I think denying rest, I can get so frustrated, it can actually mean that the more evenly paced characters get a chance to really show off, which they might not get otherwise.
I mean, that's you and Emma both being in the stream, both known for paladins with lots of smiting. Yes, this is true.
Oh, I'm saying this as someone who played a paladin and enjoyed doing all the damage all the time. It's not a criticism. But as someone who also plays a fighter and a monk, it's nice to know that they can come into their own if you're not just short resting after every 3 rounds of combat.
Yeah.
Short resting wouldn't help a paladin because its spell slots don't come back. So that's, short resting is great for warlocks and monks.
And
I bow to your paladin knowledge.
And I think because of the pacing of the game as well, because of where we were, I was like, do I give them a long rest in the workshop for Mr. Crasher? That would take away from the pacing of, oh shit, there's a big disaster about to happen. So how do I get around this? Oh wait, Granny was here once upon a time. What was Granny doing during this time? She made some potions, but they weren't as good as the ones taken in Shadowfell because they were the first ones. So that gave you another choice of, do I take this potion knowing the risk? And it's a balance between risk and choice that I wanted you to have.
Making a long rest part of in-game requirements that don't require 8 hours. Yeah, it's a classic problem. How do I keep the pace up?
We're seeing it more and more in streams. I've done it in Anarchy. I did it in Flustered. It's quite critical at some points where the story is going to slow down if we don't rest, but also you cannot take 8 hours here. It just doesn't make logical sense.
Yeah,
so I've had night hags with long rest potions. The ship has the ship has a dodgy ability to allow you to long rest.
The ship has many dodgy abilities, that fucking ship.
The risk and reward of the potions was balanced just right as well, because most people would balk at going to 2 levels of exhaustion, but you giving us 3 was something like I was, I think, on about most of my level 2s, but I didn't really have any of my high level spell slots left. One or 2 of each. I was like, I need some sorcery points. I need spells. I do not want disadvantage on everything.
The thing is, it's different for different character classes. For example, that's a lot harsher on a barbarian than it is on a wizard, because I'm not rolling attacks ever.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you give me a disadvantage on attack rolls, basically meaningless. I'll just use saving throw spells.
Yeah,
it kind of balanced out for that though, in terms of especially with the warlock stuff that Valka has. I was fine on a short rest most of the time.
Exactly.
I didn't need long rests. It was literally just for hit points in the last episode, and then I was just fortunate that I didn't have to attack after that anyway.
Just let the barbarians do it. Just put them all in front of you.
I've got a team to do it for me. Well, I say that, but they were rubbish. Well, they weren't rubbish. They were brilliant, but they're not reliable.
They were the best part of the game, though.
Horns of Valhalla. Yeah. I summon an army and now I roll all the dice.
You don't summon an army, Chris. You summon ABBA.
Yeah,
yes.
It's very importantly canon now.
It's weird that they were also young and virile ABBA, which is the current tour as well. That's the whole point. So, yeah. It's true.
But it's a weird one where it is obviously you're summoning loads of them, and it's the quantity really that makes the difference, because at level 10 actually they've only got a +5 to attacks, so which is why only a few of them actually landed, and they did considerable damage for that. But I guess it's one of those things where it has diminishing returns the higher level you get.
We were talking about animate objects earlier. Yes, you can have 8 tiny things flying around being annoying, but their attack rolls are terrible and they only do 1d4.
No, the tiny ones are great. Tiny ones get +8, but they only roll a d4.
Yeah.
Then they get successively worse, but they do more damage. But why would you do that? Because you want them to hit.
But even though they're tiny amounts of damage, I mean, Ice animate objects used really beautifully in a home game as a concentration breaker, where it was literally just, I take these 8 pebbles and then go to the enemy wizard and go 1, 2, and just throw them all at their head. Yeah, because it knocked out a concentration spell.
It adds up. I think they did like 35 points of damage when they all hit. Like it really, like over time.
Well, I've got a thing somewhere. At level 10, 11, you're supposed to be doing about 30 points of damage around anyway. That's the point. But yeah, not every class balances as evenly or as well. It's true. Anyway, a lot of chat about rules stuff. Roll the dice again. A question for everyone. What was your favourite battle/encounter/enemy?
I mean, I have a favourite enemy. I can go. Anyone want to guess who Veracity's favourite enemy was?
Was it the Hydra?
No. Actually, I was just talking to Liz about this. The way Liz played Drusilda, it's always horrible to ask a DM to pick up an NPC, especially an important one created by a different DM. Yeah. So I felt kind of guilty approaching Liz in the first place, asking them if they'd be cool to do this. And they were so enthusiastic and so lovely. I really wanted Veracity to have a chance to lift her curse. I really did.
Well, you got it.
Yes. But, the way Liz made her just so horrible. So unnecessarily malicious. I really enjoyed, because not that I just enjoy people being horrible to me, but Veracity's been cursed for a year now in real lifetime, as in the Secret of Eltra was about a year ago. And it's probably been about that in game time as well. So she's had such a long time of dreading this archfey and fearing her, and like it building to this huge scary nemesis in her head. It would have been so underwhelming if actually we'd turned up in the Feywild and finally got to meet her and Liz had made Drusilda just quite cuddly. And like, oh, sweetheart, I didn't realize you were so sad about it. I just wanted to give you a chance to see the world. There you go. Would have been so frustrating. So the fact, Liz, I know they're not always super happy being horrible to people. But
I just don't want to, I don't want you to think it's Liz coming through, because it's really not. But I did want to give the idea that Drusilda wasn't quite as measured as she always is, and it's her curse on you has actually affected her. And she's becoming more of a dick as a result.
I have unleashed a worse evil on the world, which sounds peak Veracity, to be fair.
I think we've got a gorgeous opportunity in many ways now that we've got many, many different DMs running in the same world for NPCs to appear in different campaigns with different people voicing them and playing them. And I think part of the joy of that will be that they will not be the same, because they don't have to be the same. As long as the broad strokes are the same, the detailing of what you see of them or what details you get of them can be very varied. And yeah, seeing George's Drusilda was obviously very, very cold, but at that point in all of our stories and lives, it made sense for her to be alien and distant and cold, and then coming to her home turf and prodding her bosses to go, this seems mean, leads towards someone going, no, I'm cold and shut up. Like porcelain cracking is a really nice metaphor for that as well, which we had a lot throughout the campaign. So yeah, I think I like that we're starting to see more of that, and I hope we see a lot more of it as well. And like that concepts get taken on, like the fact that gate crashes are now absolutely everywhere and are weird and brilliant and wonderful is just, I love it. I think it's really, really cool. Should we roll the dice again? Did we have favourite battle? No, we have favourite villain, which is Veracity's, but who else? Go on, other people. What have you got to say?
I really enjoyed the Angel of Death, because all I gave Liz was some sort of hag who doesn't like people being healed when they're not dying, and something's going to happen when it happens. And Liz made that.
That fucking voice. Oh my God.
So good.
Sorry.
Oh.
And then also, I loved you following through when I was like, Now I'm going to heal people. Now I'm going to keep healing people.
I was like, okay, we know what the consequences are, but sure. And then you were like 36 points of health, and I was like, oh my God, Emma.
It wasn't too bad. I still had 21 hit points as my full health at that point.
And you still have 21 hit points of health at this point. Well, sorry. Yeah, your max HP has been reduced by the same amount still.
No, it's back to normal. That was part of the deal.
Oh shit, yes, that's gone. Excuse me. I'm wrong.
That's a homebrew because of the Angel of Death rule,
Yes.
right?
Oh God, it'd be awful if that was a class
Yeah.
feature. No, that was me.
Class feature. Healing people who are not dying is very bad for you. Congratulations. Awful. Ugh. I don't know about you, Liz, but there is a part of me that goes, when making an absolute bastard of a character or someone just really unpleasant going, I've got to find that voice that's just the right level of fucking irritating, creepy, and makes players want to hit them.
But also makes players want to keep talking to them and casting guidance so that they can hear them again.
Because they're listening to this awful villain voice and going, ooh, let's hear more of this absolute terrible person.
My throat shreds to pieces.
In terms of battles, like I don't know if I have a favorite one because they were all. It's about the flavor, right? And Liz brought such great flavor to each one. Like it's not just that we're fighting a construct in the library. It is a head librarian. It's got an overdue stamp. It's got little minions that are supposed to be like finding the books, and it's got a book launch, like it's throwing books at you. It's all connected. It's all themed. I just loved all of that.
I really like the overdue stamp. That was it's one of those things. It's just lovely because it was, as you say, it was surreal, it was odd, and yet it did a lot of damage. So it was also
painful.
Scary. Yeah.
And that's the thing about level 10, because I'm like, okay, all I'm literally doing is throwing books at people and spreading coffee beans all over the floor. That's literally all I'm doing, but inflicting quite a lot of damage. But I guess the force behind it would inflict that, I guess.
Also,
Let's justify it that way.
It's video game justification. Like,
Borderlands, for
take any
example.
Final Fantasy game. Oh, this thing that's now stupidly high level does the same attack move, and suddenly it does 14,000 times the damage. I'm fine.
And I guess zombies at level 10 are way harder than zombies at level 1 in D&D.
I've never
Unless
stuck with a zombie. There's like sort of versions of zombies that are like lots of zombies stuck together and other nasty crap like that. But I don't think there's like a single high level zombie. You get into whites and stuff like that at that point, don't you?
Like physically stuck together?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A big mushy pile of zomb.
It's called a zombie clot.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's gross.
I could have lived really happily not knowing that.
I'm sorry. Sean, Ali, anything to add on favourite battle encounter?
My favorite enemy was the Hydra, obviously, because I now have a baby Hydra.
It was pretty fabulous. Even before you were fighting it, it was pretty fabulous. I'll give you that.
I think Nat's already mentioned my favourite one, actually, the head librarian fight. I don't know. It was the first point at which I think everyone started kind of meshing together. And I mean, that is the infamous Silvery Barbs fight.
Yes, it is. Yes.
But even without that incident of it, just everyone kind of doing their bit and kind of just picking away at it. I really enjoyed that one. And the last one. That
was the only fight that I got all of my plates spinning at once and had the raging and the hex, and I hit. And then even when I went down, like everyone kind of rallied together, and Debbie got me up, and Tizeli like made Valka big, and yeah, I really enjoyed that for selfish reasons.
Well, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, part of being a barbarian is I hope all of my buffs and their buffs and everything else come together and I can be a badass, because from experience, if you're watching the current the Monday show, don't always happen that way. So, yeah.
No, then you have turns where nothing goes well and you roll like 5 damage and that's it.
Yep. That definitely
What
happens.
did I do?
Oh, it's not you. No, it's just my bad rolls. Incorrect's never been a damage dealer, which is a real shame, because they could be. But they're not. I'm rolling dice again. Right, what have we got here? Interesting.
Interesting.
Liz, question for you. Were there any moments when the players took things in a completely different direction to what you were expecting?
The conspiracy theories that came out from Demi and Sally. And I think other people chipped in as well. Just they went wild. Some of them were some of them were perfect, but some of them were way off target. And
there was a literal corkboard. There was a literal corkboard.
I love that the Hydra egg was taken and is now part of Pet World. We now have a pet Hydra. I love being surprised. So yes, there were plenty of moments, but I did enjoy I think all the players really trying to work out what was happening, because I was being not cruel with the crumbs, but I was being deliberately vague until the point at which I knew that they had to work everything out.
It did sort of feel a bit like a murder mystery at certain points as an audience member. You're watching it going, I'm sure all of these connect, but right now I don't know how or what or why. But there were moments, I think, up until they went into the catacombs, the sort of spaces beneath, and started finding the robots and that sort of thing. There was like hang on. These are all, oh, they are all connected. Wow, there was a lot of putting that sort of moment where it ticked over, where the mystery became apparent.
And I think there was a moment in the sort of beneath the resort area where Tasselli just asked, is there a maker's mark?
Yeah.
And I had not prepared that. And then I was like, actually, technically, yes, there would be a maker's mark, which was the key. But then Sean was like, there's words by the door. And they kind of look like office. Does the key spell out office? And I was like, this is gorgeous. I wish I'd thought of that, but no.
OFF saw him and went, oh, that's beautiful. And did you not feel, I get this as a DM constantly, when a player says something really smart and you go, yes.
Yeah.
Or like,
well done. I
there's
thought
some
no one would
episodes
get
where
that.
players like, what if this was actually the circumstance? And then you wait and you wait and you wait, and then you make that the circumstance at the end. I do that sometimes.
I do that quite often.
Emma's got a famous home game amongst some of us where Em did something quite traumatic to George, to a wizard.
Why would you put that on the internet? Phrase like that.
It's already on the internet. George live tweeted it.
It was deeply traumatic.
It was
George's full
amazing.
consent.
But it was all completely consensual. It was all very much something that had been planned together. But it came from, this is a really cool idea I want to do. And also us going, maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. Just slowly bringing that in and making him feel nervous about it. And then Emma's DM going, I'm going to take that. Thank you very much. And yeah, that was great.
It is still, I think, the most evil thing I've ever heard of a DM doing to a player. I am obsessed with it.
Oh no.
This is the same DM, I know Emma's right here, but this is the same DM who also told us all, you're playing kids in the Feywild, it'll all be fine. And then when we finally got back to the material plane, no, 100 years have passed and it's all modern. Good at surprises, what you are, Em. Very good at surprises. Right, let's do the dice one more time. We have a 10. What was your overall favourite moment?
Sean's got his. He said earlier.
Sean's what?
Sean's got his. He was like, this is what I'm going to say when we started.
Oh, that's true. Yes, Sean, would you like to reveal what your favourite moment was?
I'll go, yeah. So during the last battle, there was a kind of turn where I'd been knocked out.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, all right, okay. Yeah. I had no idea whether I was even going to get a turn before everything stopped. So I was like, well, I'll get up and I'll do something ridiculously cool if I get the chance. And then Em came to my rescue, forced me to down the potion of lethargy. And I was like, okay, cool. All my sorcery points back, all of this. So, I twin cast innovation on two of the things and just, absolutely one shot rinsed all of my stuff. And that was just for me the point of it. It was like, I have all the power.
We've created a monster. That's what we've done.
Sorcerer is one of those classes where if you decide, fuck it, you can burn everything and be amazing. You can't apply 2 meta magics to the same spell. Or you can apply as many as you want.
Some of them you can, but they will specifically say if you can. Fortunately, it was just twin casting and casting with my bonus action. It was bringing in shadow
to then give them disadvantage.
To give disadvantage. So
that's beautiful.
And 9 of my 11 sorcery points. But I don't care.
Sorcery points are cruel. I've said it before. The fact that you get them back on a long rest is very cruel. You've got to really choose when to.
Or get the dragon and shard thing.
Yeah, there's the new thing. A lot of the new Magic Items Montages are very good at giving a limited resource an extra boost for players. Recommended. Any other favourite moments apart from Sean being Joe being an absolute badass?
Both.
I think any time Liz leaned into the creepy, I know we've really talked about it, but like the first time, if you go back and watch the first time that the Angel of Death spoke, just like the rest of us just going, ugh.
It's not even when the angel spoke, it's the, and you're like, oh God.
And the dreams as well, like anything like that where it was completely unexpected and we were like, oh, what is happening? Which actually, I know it's one of the questions as any of the things that we didn't uncover and why, but I'm going to ask it now. Were the dreams connected to anything particular? Was that like just the hags wanting to plumb into our dreams and find unpleasant things? Was it Drusilda? Because it wasn't all people who were affected by that. What was that? Or was that just you wanting to...
Drusilda was affecting Valka. Drusilda was affecting Veracity. The Angel of Death was affecting Demi. Joe just had a weird dream, potentially affected by Caper, and Taselli had experienced a lot before getting here. I don't know, maybe Granny had a little say in Taselli's dream. Maybe that's where the rat came from.
I'm going to throw in a little moment here as well of going, I'm controlled by a powerful archfey. I am also controlled by a powerful archfey. I am in hoc to powerful archfey. A gnome was mean to me is a wonderful turnaround at the end. A gnome was a bit mean.
Very disconcerting having an extra toe, especially a big one.
I wanted to give Sean and Joe something to bite onto, and as small as it was, it gave you a little something to ground you in this world, and Feywild is weird and does affect you, and it started a conversation with Taselli, and Taselli has physically been altered by the Feywild because of Fey Touched, and that was it's going to be this, and then you realise that's your second toe grew. It's not that. So that was a fun little thing. I didn't want to take it too far though, but
I'm going to throw in another one, and then I'll stop taking away people's examples. When Ali tried to send in Granny to go, Granny, help us out with the situation. Granny went, fluff, 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 fluff. I'd love to.
Love that.
Just as a DM, it's just a.
All of your faces were like, oh God.
Here goes my third level spell.
Yeah.
Liz, you know if I've been playing, I just cast sending again.
Oh yeah. She'd just carry on talking from where she left off.
I know. It would still have been great. Worth every spell slot.
I think my favourite moment was when you all had to go with the Shard communication network, where you all spoke to Archfays and the Monarchs, bringing in the weird, relatable, you're going to have to wait for an hour before you speak to these people, and the stuff that you did to fill that gap in, I thought was really good. So it was fun to do because I had no idea what you were going to say, so that kept me on my toes.
I think every time Emma just did something outrageously clever, is very high up the list for me. Like every time I was like, we need to fit this and then we're just like, I'll just do this, was incredible. But then the moment, I'm not sure favorite, but definitely the one that is going to stay with me for longest was Nat's monologue after like Valkyrie being so quiet and so sad, and then she just it broke my heart. And I love the way that in all this crazy Disney World hagland, there's also space for someone as talented as Nat to just make you cry. It was gorgeous.
I wanted to. I didn't necessarily intend for it to go in that sad, but I guess it was always going to. In that I wanted to make sure there were little wisps of what happened to the Seekers of Elturel crew here and there, and we got a little bit from Ed playing Viorica, we got a little bit from you playing Veracity, but in my head I was like, I want to make sure it's clear where everyone is and what they can do going forward, and make sure we know, like, 355 could give G the option, if he brought 355 back, that 355 could be wherever, really. The constant could be with either 355 or Voight. That's fine.
Yep.
Barda is still having a terrible time.
I don't think
Barda's true love has been released from the demi-plane and is floating around with a gatecrasher. So
hang on, I missed what?
The gatecrasher in Gloom Falls on Baldur's Gate mentioned briefly having picked up a talking skeleton with a beard from a demi-plane where they were trapped.
I do remember that. I was horrified at the time. There we go.
I love the thought that Bod has just been at home having a tiff with her husband for a year. Like, it's just been awful
really
for a year. It's very upsetting.
Yeah.
No.
I just wanted to fill in the gaps, but then Ed suggesting that Viorica had seen horrible, horrible things with the Mind Flayer. So I was like, well, we wouldn't have let him. So I guess I've got to think that he's dead.
I mean, it's a lovely. There's a bit about all of this that is emergent storytelling, where we are all sort of improvising on top of improvising on top of improvising on such a grand degree that there will be these weird story collocations where, because this person said that at that point, at that point, at that point, 4 random sentences over the course of 5 years suddenly mean that X happens. I always think that's gorgeous. And I love that the Seekers in particular, there are now 3 of them with these very elaborate stories that required Viorica to go, Mind Flayers, and disappear. Like, it's just a very Ed thing somehow. I really like that.
We solved the Mind Flayer issue. He's not attached to one of their tentacles anymore, which is good for Ed because he hates tentacles. So
he chose that magic item. I will not be slandered.
And then he unchose it.
It's also his choice. Good. I'll roll the dice again. Actually, were there any other favourite moments? Sorry, we've had quite a few, but we're missing.
I find moments really hard. I enjoyed the whole thing.
Okay.
Every single interaction with Demi, I think just picturing Demi and Teseli coming together to investigate, it was just like, yeah, I think that's my favorite.
The most fabulous, like brain trust. Like,
I mean, from my mind, it's also, how do you two fit in a room? There's hair and there's wings and there's all sorts of shit.
There's a veil.
an egg. 2 eggs.
Fabulous detective agency.
Carefully.
Someone turns and, crap. Right, rolling the dice again. Ooh. Which PC gets the Blessed by / Cursed by the Dice Award? Apart from Rebecca, obviously.
I think Nat, you had advantage with 10 barbarians in that last fight, 8 in the previous one, and yet you hit 25% of the time.
Yeah, I think I've had a really up and down luck game this campaign, because I did have some moments with some brilliant rolls, and then I've had so many bad ones. There was the one fight where we were like, no, it's Drusilla has actually come and cursed my dice.
Maybe it's specifically the super troopers who were cursed then.
Well, the lights have blinded them.
Demi's roles with the animated objects in combat, they were pretty good from memory. They had some good rolls.
Is that an effect of they were good rolls, or because you rolled so many times, they're just the big ones stood out, do you think?
I mean, it's both, isn't it?
It's both.
Yeah, they were quite little, really, weren't they? But yeah.
but by contrast to Nat, who rolled roughly the same amount of times.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, you're very right.
And the advantage, and Nat rolled twice as many dice as me, really.
Yeah.
Anyone proper cursed? Like really, really bad rolls?
Mike
I don't think so.
Dobson.
Well, Mike's not here, but Mike is. Yes, Mike. I don't know what's wrong with Mike.
Sean, did you have a combat where you were rolling really badly?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, the thing is, Joe was very much a save or suck kind of. Like I really only was rolling damage, so
yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I can't actually remember.
I had a shocker with some damage to you all where it's like, roll 10d6, and there's like at least 7 ones in the pile. I was like, for God's sake.
Oh no, how sad.
That's Sean's
Then you
DMing
did
curse.
60 points of damage to 3 of us at once. So
Nice.
When was that?
that hurt a lot.
Yeah.
You jumped a jacuzzi on us is what happened.
That one. Oh, yes.
Was it the coffee bean?
The coffee bean.
spilling
It was the
as
coffee
well?
beans. Yeah, when Liz was like, you start with 30 points of bludgeoning, and then you add 30 points of boiling.
60 points of coffee bean damage is a thing, isn't it?
It was a
And Veracity,
modified,
you're sitting close, aren't you? Overspill.
the Kof Kuziaks was a modified Hell Engine Rider.
Oh, they're great.
They're
Yeah.
so
That's what it was
bad.
based on.
Oh, I love them.
I
There was
just
one in
modified the
Agents of the
flavor.
Nine Hells, and it was horrific.
Was there?
I thought so, maybe not.
No, I used one in one of the live games like a lifetime ago.
Oh, well, I must have been in that live game. It doesn't matter, Chris. It really doesn't matter.
Chris needs to know.
It's not worth
I know.
as much
I
time.
know what it is. I used some of the abilities from it in the Beholder fight that went backwards and forwards at the same time. I remember now. Well, we can't talk about being blessed by the dice without talking to Rebecca about being blessed by the dice. Do you think now that your Fey curse has been lifted, that your dice luck will have been lifted as well?
No.
Well, I was blessed by the dice for Icewind Dale Corrupted and Seekers of Elturel Buried, and only cursed at the end.
Fuck.
I didn't feel particularly blessed this campaign. No, wait, I rolled some really well-timed nat 20s that sort of handled a fight. Yes, I shouldn't say that. I'm just very blessed.
You are very
blessings.
blessed. We've all accepted this and noted it. It's just still remarkable. I think it's still a remarkable thing that never stops being remarkable.
Was it the Hydra fight ended with you rolling? Was it like 4?
It was. I can't remember the details.
Two.
5 rolls and you rolled like.
Yeah, I think it was 5 rolls and you rolled 2.
And that's not the first time I've done that with Scorching Ray. Had 5 and then 2 of them turned into nat 20s. I used to think, when it was Persephone to start with, I was like, well, does monks roll 4 times more than every other character? It must just be statistics. Now I think I am just Faye.
Well, hopefully at some point we'll see you on the other side of the table and see how it works as a DM as well, because that will be extra
That's
terrifying.
not happening at any point soon.
No,
Chris,
not at all. No spoilers here. I'm gonna roll the dice again. It's a nat 1, which is only fair after that comment. Liz, were there any stories or elements from other books, films, plays, games? Doesn't really fit. Were there any elements from books, films, plays, games that inspired you in writing this campaign? Were there specific?
Not so much the campaign, but an element where you were in the catacombs, we'll call them. I really like the Doctor Who sanatorium with the Daleks, where they're all bonkers. That episode, mix that with Westworld for the robots.
Far less nudity, I will say.
Yes, I mean, this is Imagination Land. You can dress them how you please, but those are the 2 that I really took from. For that, I don't think I took much for the rest of it. It was just what happens if we put a bunch of people in the Feywild, and what happens if the hags have done this, and what happens.
Well,
Let's play a game and find out.
It's interesting because the whole setup of a resort and so on, that doesn't feel very video game to me. Like the closest analogy I drew in my head was I think it's called Dead Island, where there's zombies on a resort island.
Have you seen the slight segue? The intro for the first game for that, it's all backwards.
Yes.
So good. Sorry, that's
Dead
my
Island's a really
animation
cool
nerd
series. The gameplay's a bit naff, but all of the ideas behind it are very, very cool. You're all on a lovely beach holiday. Now zombies is a very, very odd setup for a game, but it works really well.
I was getting Doctor Who vibes from the bit with the gatecrasher, but not that episode. The episode where they go and to the people who've been eating Time Lords, or eating TARDISes maybe. That was the vibes I got from that one.
I don't remember that one, but okay.
There's creepy bits from Doctor Who as well, like where people start saying numbers.
That's the one that I was thinking of. Is it called Starball? Something like that, where they're just stuck on a planet and then they all start repeating and then anticipating.
Numbers going backwards. Yeah.
That's the one that was it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Was in my head.
Is that the one where Satan's under the ground and there's a big lift?
No, that's numbers over their face. I like Doctor Who. This is the one where the companion's got, I think,
it's
probably Donna.
Amy. She's got an angel in her eye and it's counting. It's making her count.
Oh, that's a different one again.
There's another one on Spaceship where the counting happens.
So the companion's gone off and is safe on a spa, so there's more peril because the companion
ice one
isn't there to rescue everything. It's David
Tennant and it's like an ice thing. I think
it's got Leslie Sharp and it's got Colin Morgan. And
it's the ice one. Yeah, that's an ice planet.
You said the magic words.
And they start repeating the numbers after
Colin
you and then
Morgan
saying at the same time.
Very attractive.
I'm not saying Colin Morgan isn't attractive. You said the magic words.
Colin Morgan was also in Merlin.
He was Merlin. He was a very good Merlin.
I can continue if you would like. Merlin was full of attractive people.
Oh, roll the dice was okay. That is... Oh, we've already had that one. I can't see the dice, and the dog's on my shoulder.
I Just keep talking about Colin Morgan until Chris rolls a good number.
I mean, the best thing about Merlin was that you had both archetypes, right? Because you had Colin Morgan, and then you had whoever was playing Arthur, who was like blonde and jockey, and then you also had Guinevere and Sexy Witch in Morgana. It was great. It was just like all of the bi-panacea of characters all in one show. It was brilliant.
Arthur did have a bad fringe, though. I remember that much. But the fringe was back here, and I was like, babes, get it cut.
I think they did cut it later on. A lot of the promo you see now, he's got that like spiky 2000s hair.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to bin the dice roll. I'm going to ask a question I want to ask, which is the Nat 20 question. What's next for your character? Because thanks to a lot of the actions of the last episode, there's a huge amount going on with all of you that I'd love to find out more about as we wrap things up.
Rasty's going to become a lich.
Rasty's going to become a lich.
No, you're going to start with Ali. Start with Ali.
I want to start with Ali because I feel that's the one I feel that was very much alluded to but not specified. Was that intentional?
No, I think it was just how things happen. But I think Thessaly, pretty much after Shadowfell Symphony, was just trying to find the answers. So I think this is just a step forward to those answers. So that is that. But the end game for Thessaly is just get married to Alki. So actually, whatever happens in the middle, it could be 4 campaigns. It could be one shot. But end game for Thessaly is just go back to material plane and
live happily ever after.
Oh, the dream.
Yeah. Well, Drusilda is very keen. That's all I'm going to say. What happens with Thessaly between now and then? Who can say?
He's got 2 hands. And we found out about your artificer, your head artificer, your bod, Jack.
Kind of. Oh. I mean, we mentioned about Jack, but yeah, there is more.
I'm intrigued. I want to know more. Can't wait to see more. It's going to be good. Rasty was becoming a lich. That was established.
Rasty is not going to become maybe.
Rasty is the only one of your characters who isn't slightly grey, so, you know, there's either you're like, she's my non-grey character, or you're like, nope, grey, I'm grey all the way through, here we go.
I genuinely don't know. Like, if she gets to go home with Valka and we find Viorica and everything's lovely, then she could possibly just have a nice, cozy, really sanctimonious life. But Drusilda admitting that she hurt Valka just to hurt Veracity, I think that might have changed Veracity. She's grown up a little bit.
Come join the Shepherds. We'll help you sort it.
See, this is a thing. She could absolutely... I think Veracity and Prosperous would get on so well. So well.
That's you literally going, hey, so I'm now going to deal with this situation. No, it's not a bad thing. It's no problem at all. Well, the Shepherds could be convinced that Drusilda's a big problem. It's also...
I think it also depends on Drusilda. Like, if Drusilda does just go lick her wounds and leave her alone, she'd probably go be a shepherd and be happy. But I think at this point, that innocent, why is someone hurting me, has hardened into absolute rage that she could hurt Valka, and it's her own fault that Valka got hurt. And I think if Drusilda continues hurting her friends, Veracity could go down an interesting lichy path. Maybe. I just don't know. It depends what happens next.
Depends on which DM decides to pick up the torch, I suppose.
Depends on whether Valka is there to prod her or not.
It's a good point. What's happening with Valka? What's next?
Well, the intention was to go home and see her family for a bit, make sure things are still ticking along at the farm, and have a little bit of time to just be, I think. But absolutely, if Viorica is alive and to be found, she would want to check in.
I mean, it's got to be a near miss now. The joy of this will be the consistent near misses for years now. Yeah.
Viorica's quite busy guarding an egg.
It's true.
Yes, Viorica's
That's how we get Veracity to join the Shepherds.
Viorica's in Goldenfields with Prosperous. Fantastic. That's how we get there.
Well, for now, I mean, who knows what people have got planned?
I gotta go meet the Swampalid as well at some point. We realised we ended up with so many buttons to push to finish as ever.
As always.
That the Archfays the Fey monarchs were like, well, actually the Swampalid is right here. It's really close. And I was like, great, go see them. And then we didn't do that. So maybe that'll have to be a little flashback insert somewhere.
Yeah,
Could
totally.
do. Yeah, why not?
Same with Thessaly and Jack, and I think. Demi, you were going to do something. What was it?
I was talking to the Angel of Death.
You were going to scry
on Viorica.
So,
Weren't you also going to negotiate with the Angel of Death?
We did begin negotiations with the Angel of Death, yes.
Is that because you want to keep your cleric levels?
Well, I have another Diviner Wizard. Solid Diviner Wizard. I think the combination of Diviner and Cleric is very, very fun. Like, we didn't get to a lot of it this time, but there's a lot of like cool stuff you can do. And I like the idea of going from, it felt very thematic, Chris. I'm going to use the word thematic for this campaign, to go from, I'm in this contract I don't really like, to actually let's make a proper bargain. Now that one's broken, and I quite like that. But the main thing Demi is going to do is go and find Kriya. So I can have a conversation with hopefully someone else will play Kriya, because I don't want to have a conversation with myself.
That could really be DMing a thing that Demi's in, doesn't make sense. So yes, that's going to be interesting. Actually, that's a good point. Do you think Kriya is going to be an NPC that gets picked up on as like a story point to dive into, or do you think someone could take Kriya and make them a player?
I would love to persuade someone to play Kriya, but I don't know who. If you're watching this and you're like, I would love to play Kriya, then just, DM me. Preferably someone that I know, not like randos. Sorry.
if you're in Twitch chat,
if you're a rando in Twitch chat,
what would Kriya? So Kriya has identified. But is Kriya a wizard?
In my mind, Kriya is also a wizard, but like a very different kind of wizard. But also, like, if someone's like, I just want to play a blah, I don't care. He does need to have identify, but he could have it through a item or something.
There's goggles that give you identify. Also, artificers have identify, and something else as well. Arcane clerics. I don't know. I could look it up. I'm not going to. Sean. I'm going to look it up now while you're talking. I know I am.
So, yeah, Joe got the unexpected sending from his mercenary buddies. So that was another Liz twist, I think. Just surprising, like, oh yeah, okay, we've wrapped up. Joe's going to stay and be QA for the resort and just sample all of the goodies. No business. Bah. Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess Joe will be doing some sort of reality solving thing with the mercenaries.
Did you?
Yeah, there was. Sorry, they alluded to what was it?
Something going on in the Shadowfell.
Kind of cut out in the Shadowfell.
Domains
of Dread, perhaps.
Oh.
So who knows what Joe will be up to?
How exciting! Well, if there are
a new
plans...
version of Joe without the tropical shirts. Business Joe.
Yeah.
Business Joe. Leathers.
I think the other person that we know is in a Domain of Dread is Mike's character Jamie from.
Is she in a Domain of Dread, or is she in the Shadowfell? I'm not sure.
He said in this talk together that she's in a Domain of Dread.
Oh, brilliant! Love Domain of Dread.
So maybe you'll go meet up with Mike Dobson, the earlier mentioned one who rolled really poorly. So
we'll need some.
Yeah.
I'm on it, Mike. Don't worry, I'm coming.
Wheels within wheels, as always with us. For those interested, Bard, Wizard, Artificer, Knowledge Clerics, and Forge Clerics.
Of course, Forge Clerics. I miss my Forge Cleric.
Could Kriya be a Forge Cleric? Find out next time. I don't know, like someone might do it. But anyway, it is time to wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody, all of you lovely players and DMs, for telling your wonderful story, and the audience, as always, for watching and for watching here and for being part of the story. If you enjoyed what we do, we stream every Saturday? No, we don't. It's a Friday from 6 p.m. GMT, and we also stream D&D games on Mondays and Tuesdays, also at 6 p.m. GMT. Following on from The Last Resort of Murkendraw Bog, we have Crash and Burn. Tom Yance is stepping into the DM chair for the first time, and he will be taking us through a Gatecrasher-themed adventure. I know quite a bit about it because I'm in it, but I'm not going to say too much. Who else is in it? I can't remember. Who's in it? Emma's in it. Sean's in it. There we go. So, join us for that. Should be great fun. And then on Mondays, we're still wrapping up Anarchy in the Astral Sea. And, Will we
Because
have...
the players are so chaotic, they've just taken ages to do any of the plot that I had for them.
Are we going to reveal what the next Monday show is going to be here? I think we should. I think it would be
You've already said it on a talk together.
Have I already said it on a talk
With
together?
Tom, like a week ago.
I can't remember what I said.
3
on
weeks
these things.
ago.
What is
What is
time?
time?
I think I hinted. I think I very strongly hinted. Didn't give a very specific. Anyway, I'm going to more strongly hint and just say what it is. We're going to Mithranor, folks, the ancient elven city, and it's a brand new campaign with some returning characters, including Rebecca as Ava. So more on that and more about all the other characters in the next couple of weeks as we get
Also,
that show on the road.
The wizard everyone loves to hate.
Oh yeah, Anton's back too. Was hoping to hang on to that one until Niall was around, but sorry, Sean, go on.
I said I thought you meant Murta. That's the wizard everyone wants to hate.
May also be returning. Who knows?
Speaking of NPCs turning into player characters. Anyway, folks, that's all from us. We stream at twitch.tv/RollTogetherRPG, archive everything at youtube.com/RollTogetherRPG, and there are podcast versions of all of our shows. Just search Roll Together RPG. Thank you for engaging in the one of those you engaged in, and why not check out the others? There we go. Many thanks to all of the sponsors and supporters. The D20 Club, you are splendid. You are awesome. Lots of stuff here for the wiki. I look forward to seeing all of that slowly get filtered in over the next couple of weeks. And I'm not going to say it. I don't like it. I'm going to say
You
it.
have to. If I have to, you have to.
You don't get to leave till you do it.
Would anyone like to stay classy at the table? Thanks, everyone. Bye.